The National Workers' Union is demanding that Lisa Hanna withdraw from the PNP leadership contest and apologize. This is a direct message coming from Roberts to Lisa Hanna. The leading trade unionist for the National Workers' Union, Danny Roberts, has stated that Lisa Hanna's handling of the inclusion of National Workers' Union delegates for the November 7th People's National Party's presidential elections indicates that she is not yet ready for leadership of the opposition party. She not ready yet. Roberts, a senior lecturer and head of the U. Lawson Shearer Labor Studies Institute at the University of the West Indies Open Campus and a former vice president of the National Workers' Union. This is what he had declared. A meeting between the People's National Party's General Secretary, Julian Robinson, and the National Workers' Union's General Secretary Granville Valentine on the matter was held on Wednesday, after Lisa Hanna's campaign team leader, Senator Donna Scott Motley, asked that a list of delegates presented by Valentine should be put to strict scrutiny. It means that Lisa Hanna's campaign team is in total disbelief at the number of candidates that exist or delegates that are on the list that was submitted by the National Workers' Union. However, the National Workers' Union has taken great offense and they are only seeing red. They are demanding that Lisa Hanna not only apologize, but that she withdraws from the leadership race for the presidency of the People's National Party. In a request to Julian Robinson, Scott Motley mentioned that if there is proof that the delegates were not properly registered with the union, they should be removed from the list. I'm not sure where these statements are coming from, but last year in 2019, the National Workers' Union were in support of the Bunting team, and for this 2020 presidential election, they have declared their full support for Mark Golding. So the divisions continue, the factions continue to arrive and arise as well as they continue to grow and grow and grow, and the two sides seem to have drawn their individual battle lines. The NWU is not backing down, and Lisa Hanna's team seems to be on a steady path where they are making insinuations and allegations that are very caustic. Julian Robinson has said that while he was unable to give details of the meeting, he could confirm that the party's appeals committee will now determine the outcome of the issues that have presented themselves. According to Danny Roberts, however, instead of continuing with the contest for the presidency to replace current leader Dr. Peter Phillips, who has resigned, to make way for a new leader of the PNP to be elected on November 7th, Lisa Hanna should withdraw from the contest with immediate effect. She certainly is not qualified to lead the PNP, and for that reason, she should withdraw and apologize to the People's National Party for trying to disenfranchise the entire delegates slate of the National Workers' Union for spurious reasons and by extension the wider labor movement. She needs to give Danny Roberts a call so that they can talk about the lessons of the past, about the historical context within which political unionism was developed. And she needs to speak to me about the relationship between Labour and the parties, and she needs to prepare herself properly next time around. He further went on to state that the problems which have affected the National Workers' Union over recent years will have to be sorted out by the delegates and members of the union. But the People's National Party, as a party, has a protocol with the National Workers' Union, which speaks to how they should handle their differences, and that protocol should have been activated instead of these caustic statements coming from Lisa Hanna's campaign team to the president of the National Workers' Union, and of course, the General Secretary of the People's National Party, Julian Robinson. Roberts further went on to state that, with respect to these internal problems of the National Workers' Union, nobody outside of the delegates have any locus standi to interfere in the internal affairs of the union. You can't premise your objection on the basis of the Trade Union Act, and you have failed to recognize that there is a letter from the Registrar General saying that the union is in good standing. The wider implication of Lisa Hanna's request only serves to embarrass the union and bring the party into further disrepute and disunity. And that is not how you approach the situation. It is unheard of. And it seems like Mr. Roberts is only seeing red about the situation that was stirred up by members of Lisa Hanna's presidential campaign team, especially the statements made by Donna Scott Motley. He says that he is totally amazed that anybody who is putting up themselves for political leadership could make such a monumental gaffe. According to Roberts, former PNP leader and three-time Prime Minister P.J. Patterson had warned the PNP that every election that it has won since 1944 has been based on a labor workers' platform. If the People's National Party elects Lisa Hanna as the next leader, we will be in the political wilderness for a very long time. Hanna, apparently rattled by the criticism, issued a statement in which she said she wanted to assure the union of her full support for the workers within the organization, their importance to the progress of the working class movement, and their work in modernizing and reforming the Jamaican labor market. She further went on to state that comments in the media about issues regarding the NWU's delegates list do not accurately reflect her position or the position of her campaign on the importance of the union in advancing the cause of the Jamaican working class. According to Ms. Hanna, the request of her campaign for transparency in the submission of names for the list was neither anti-union nor an attack on the union. Comments by the spokesperson in the media are therefore misleading and false. All arms and affiliates of the party have criteria and qualification for delegate selection, according to Hanna. She further added that the issues raised by Scott Motley regarding the list were pending submission of proof that the delegates are union members based on the traditional rules governing the accreditation of delegate status. The objection was not hostile, but an attempt at clarity, which is in keeping with the campaign's verification exercise of all delegates. However, the National Workers' Union is in no way buying into what Ms. Hanna is trying to clarify or trying to explain. They are focused on the statements coming from Donna Scott Motley, and they are only seeing red. They are extremely upset, and they have decided to unleash their fury on Hanna and her presidential campaign team. Based on information coming in, a veil of secrecy continues to cloud the criteria utilized by the National Workers' Union to confer voting rights on dozens of persons to elect the next president of the opposition party. Almost 3,400 delegates who were selected from the PNP's national and regional executive bodies and affiliate groups are scheduled to cast their ballots on Saturday, November 7th, to decide whether Lisa Hanna or Mark Golding will be leading this primary political organization into the future. Among the 50 delegates the National Workers' Union submitted to the People's National Party Secretariat are Jamaica's athletics boss, Dr. Warren Blake, engineer Steve Ashley, and business consultant Makay Amjit. This information comes from documents that were obtained by the media recently. Another person's name has been removed from the NWU's delegates list because he mentioned that he did not authorize any such thing. His name has been removed, and party insiders within the PNP have confirmed the removal of the chief delegate's name. Warren Blake, who is a former PNP candidate and currently the outgoing president of the J3s, his inclusion did not come as a surprise, but he has stated that he was not interested in discussing his ties or connections to the National Workers' Union. His statement was that he does not work for the NWU. He further indicated that he is a member of the union before answering or leaving any opportunity open for any further inquiries. His statement was that the media should speak to Mr. Valentine, and Mr. Valentine will answer all their questions. This is what he has said in reference to the General Secretary of the National Workers' Union, Granville Valentine. Ashley has made it clear that he was not interested in discussing any business in relation to the People's National Party with the media. I have no duty to explain anything about politics to the press. Before he too directed questions to the General Secretary of the National Workers' Union. The National Workers' Union's General Secretary has said that a gag order bars him from discussing the concerns that have been raised. He did not disclose who imposed that order on him, speaking on any of the issues that are being dealt with at the moment. To Granville Valentine, the union has publicly endorsed Mark Golding for the presidency of the People's National Party. The Golding campaign has not raised any objections to the National Workers' Union's list of delegates, but it is expected to revisit the issue. I will mention it to the campaign team so that they can work out how they will handle this matter. This is what Patricia Duncan Sutherland, who is the spokesperson for Golding's campaign, mentioned to the media recently. Hanna's camp has taken issue with the list, and there are internal appeals that have been made to the appeals committee, and the decision is expected on the issue soon. However, as it stands, Donna Scott Motley, who is the spokesperson for Lisa Hanna's team, has not been able to make any further comments on the matter. She has mentioned that a gag order has been imposed by the PNP's appeals committee. Questions about who is eligible to become an NWU delegate and the criteria for selection are among many of the issues of this old delegates only method that has been utilized by the PNP to select its leader. The National Workers' Union has been allowed to select PNP delegates for decades, according to a source. They have done this under an informal arrangement that allows the party to benefit from some of the talents that come through the ranks of the trade union. But they have taken advantage of the absence of a formal arrangement to select people. There is no agreement that says the National Workers' Union's delegates to the PNP conference must meet a specific criteria. Vincent Morrison, a former president of the National Workers' Union, recently disclosed that under its constitution, only bona fide members should be selected as delegates. He acknowledged as well that delegates can be selected from the pool of private sector employees represented by the National Workers' Union. A critical requirement, according to Morrison, is that they must be paid up members over a long period of time. The Constitution is very clear. It refers to delegates of the union coming from the sectors represented by the union. When you talk about the sectors, you speak about bauxite, sugar, manufacturing, and so on. You don't just select somebody today or tomorrow or last week and say, you know you are going to appear on the voters list. You don't have a friend who you call and they say that they would like to be a delegate. The issues seem to be many. and Lisa Hanna's team has taken a stance on the matter. They are asking for the General Secretary of the PNP Secretariat, Julian Robinson, to investigate, and he has passed over this matter to the Appeals Committee for them to investigate same. Of course, what are your comments on these issues that continue to arise? You know the NWU is fully endorsing Mark Golding in a similar fashion to the way they did in 2019 when they were in full support of the Rise United team and the Bunting Challenge team. So it seems like the One PNP team is not being supported and will never be supported by the National Workers Union. And maybe, just maybe, Donna Scott Motley and the rest of Lisa Hanna's presidential campaign team, along with herself, have taken some issue with this matter and are ensuring that the National Workers Union is following all the necessary protocols that are required for the registration of delegates. So it seems that they are not in agreement with the list that was submitted. But what is your opinion? Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.